about business, it's about God. Everything. There is no business person and then God's person. There's no Christian life, there is just life. So it's all intertwined, and until it's all authentic, it's all intertwined, then it's not authentic, because I don't have to pull off many hats because I'm a Christian. I don't have to do different things because in one moment I'm a CEO and in the other moment I'm a Christian. No, it's all intertwined. And that's why we as members of Calvary Worship Center have a very, very exciting panel. I know you've seen them on the advert. Just looking at their skills, Nekan Wobi, who is a coach, a consultant, also a facilitator, an entrepreneur in her own right. We have Charles Luo, who is a partner at Deloitte. We have Tony Mello, who is the founder of Bizna, which is quite a famous forum in this country and beyond. And then we also have James Mwangi, who is a digital specialist, runs a number of online shops and is doing well in this season. So just to understand what it is that the season is, we know the season, as you've seen from the advert. Our question was, do you remember the day that there was a switch after many years of the government saying that we're going to go digital, that we're going to move from analog to digital? Do you remember when it happened? You remember I had this background, this back noise, okay? Do you remember when it finally happened that there was a switch? It was just on, off. I don't know whether it's dark left, light came, and that's it. There was no analog anymore to be used. And that's the analogy we want to take on today, that something similar has happened. And it has happened perhaps suddenly in February, March, and then gradually between March and today. And it's still going on. Surely the season has shifted. It is true that we're never going to go back to the world as it was before. And God is not taken by surprise in this season. Not for your business, not for your life, not for your provision, not for peace. He's not taken by surprise. He didn't take him by surprise like, wow, what just happened on planet Earth? No, that's not the case. It is well orchestrated, and not saying that he's the one who brought it on, but he allowed it for such a time as this, for the rising of the saints. With that introduction, allow me to just give a background of biblical background of why we're doing this. We, as I said earlier, we are children of the Most High God. We run businesses. We run good businesses on earth and in our area of calling. And I'm reminded that there's a scripture that says that may we be like the sons of Issachar. The sons of Issachar had two things. Number one, they had an understanding of the times. And then number two, they knew what to do, because sometimes you can understand the time, but then not know exactly what to do. Some people have been seated in the house wondering, what do I do? What can I do? And we pray that this session will provide light and pathways, which based on who you are and what you are created to do, you can begin to follow and begin to attract great success, because it's the season of the righteous. There's also another scripture that says that the earth is waiting for the manifestation, eagerly, earnestly waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. And yes, there has been corruption. Yes, there has been, a system in the past that has favored the negative side, the negative values. But I believe this shift is coming to sweep all that away, and maybe not 100%, but we don't need 100%. We just need God. Okay, so this is the season of the manifestation of the sons and daughters of the Most High. How will it come? I know it's in our health, it's in our businesses, it's in our families, that manifestation, because all creation is groaning for that. So we are not working on our own, independent of God or independent of, the season. All intertwined. We are working to fulfill that word that says all creation is groaning, expecting for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. So let's take up our mantle. And then also in Isaiah 60, it says, arise and shine, for thy light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen up on you, which means it was always in us. But there's a season that will come where it says there will be darkness, not just darkness, KPLC, lack of light darkness, but it goes on to say a gross darkness, which means if you look at in other versions, it says a darkness that can be felt, meaning in the night you can almost see it's a living entity that is trying to get you depressed, that is trying to get you discouraged, that is trying to show you there's no hope, you're better off dead, that you're better off, heart palpitations, having, challenges in the body. And all of it comes through the mind. So today's session, we're really going to focus on, there are two systems we know. There's the kingdom of God, and then there's the kingdom of, of this earth, the kingdoms of this earth. And the kingdom of God is the better way to live. So we'll be breaking it down, talking about, let's just get practical. How should we live in this season? What kind of provision is there in this season? What should we, the skilled people, because if you remember, there's a story in the Old Testament where Bezalel, when they were building the temple, they were looking for skilled people. There is a temple being built right now, the temple of the Most High. It's a season of the ark, okay? With those skills that we have, what is it that we can do to actually lift up Christ and him be glorified, okay? And finally, in just my starting, let me say, I also love the story in 2 Kings about the lepers, chapter 3, about the lepers that says, they sat there by themselves. I won't go into it because in the interest of time, they sat there by themselves, the lepers, and they said, wait a minute, if we stay here, we die. If we go, we still die. So how about we start going? Okay, how about we just do something, and not just something out of the blue, but let us just start walking. So they began to walk, and in their walking, they found plunder, they found blessing, they found so much had happened, as the man of God has said. You can read that up for yourself from 2 Kings chapter 3. So with those few scriptures, let me just reintroduce the topic. We talk on the WhatsApp advert, we talked about, do you remember the season before the digital season, when the government just shut off and turned digital from analog? Something similar has happened. From the top of my mind, I remember that I remember that there are some companies that I actually don't remember the companies that died off in that season, but I know that there are companies that were born in the new digital season. Go TV, smart TVs, multi-choice, and feel free. We want this to be a very interactive session. This is not just lecturing, and we want you to bring your wisdom along because there's a lot to be learned in the season, okay? So feel free to type in, and Geoffrey, who's our host and facilitator for today, technically speaking, can help me just pick up those words, okay? So I remember DSTV survived. Actually, DSTV did a survival. Now, whether they will survive in the long term, we don't know. We're just watching and seeing whether their strategies will change. But just in the same way, something has happened. It's global. Everyone is in it. We're all in that space. But in that space, there's some people who are dreaming and getting strategies and moving on and creating wealth. And there are others, and I pray we're not here, and if we are delivered today, others who are stuck in a mindset of, I'm doomed. This is not of God. I resist. And the moment you start thinking those thoughts, you begin to go down mentally. And the moment you go down mentally, physically is just a matter of time. It just follows. So allow me to, with that background, to call upon our first presenter for the day. We have 4 presenters. They are all experts. I have asked them to introduce themselves based on what they do, and then they'll just have about 5 to 7 minutes speaking into our lives on what it is they see. And as they speak, please feel free to shoot questions, make it very interactive on the chat forum. Geoffrey will be picking those up, and in between we'll have intermittent sessions of just answering some critical questions. And eventually, if we have your email address, we'll be able to address those questions even later, okay? And we also hope we are making divine connections here, all right? So allow me to hand it over to Tony Mello, who is the founder and CEO of Visna. Tony, please take it away.
Thank you, Phyllis, for a wonderful introduction. And I'd also like to thank the church for organizing this session because I believe we are living in interesting times, and I believe it is time that the church also steps up to equip the saints and to equip members to be able to do their part in this season. In terms of introduction, my name is Tony Mello. I am the founder and CEO of Bizna Group Limited, which owns and runs biznakenya.com. Biznakenya.com is a business website, and basically we focus on SMEs. And for SMEs, we provide marketing and enterprise development services. My background is education. I have a Bachelor of Education degree and a Master's in Literature. But my heart has always been in business. I developed interest in business when I was young. My dad and mom used to run a shop, and so hanging around them, I got to understand money and a bit of how money is made. And for me, it made sense that doing business is a good thing. So I developed interest in business, and I started even working in the family business. But then, of course, I took a break to go to college, and after college, then I went back and then I ventured out into business. It's now been 15, 16, 17 years that I've been in business, and looking back, I think for me, this COVID circumstance or situation provides a great opportunity for entrepreneurs and people in business, because like Philly was saying, it's sort of like we have reset. So for those who will be prepared and for those who will take courage to step out, I think there's a lot to be learned, and there's a lot that they can give, and they can make a big contribution. Since I'm the first speaker, I'll just give a few pointers in terms of what we can do to prepare for this season and what will follow. One of the greatest concerns for me is that for a lot of us, we feel that this thing is passing. So basically, we are just waiting for it to pass, and then we'll go back to what we were doing. And probably it will be maybe as good or better. But I think for a lot of people, or rather for some people, things are not going to go back to what they were. And so there's a need for us to begin to think and to begin to prepare for the new season. And in terms of that preparation, I think the first thing is, first of all, I think we all need, and especially mainly I'll be talking to entrepreneurs, I think there's a need for us to take stock of where we are at. Really analyze your personal situation and circumstance, analyze the business that you've been doing, see how this COVID has affected or is affecting that line of business, because that is a starting point. Once you establish what is happening, then begin to interrogate your environment. What is it that you can do? Unfortunately, if the business that you're involved in might not continue or might not be as good as it was, because there are opportunities that will get lost. But thankfully, there are new opportunities that will open. So begin to interrogate your environment and look at what it is that you can be able either to improve what you are doing before, or if you can start doing something totally new. Because we are in this kind of situation that we are in, so it is only fair and only proper that we begin to think of what to do. And we are thinking about that. I think one of the other things that we really need to do is to begin to think in terms of solutions. One of the greatest mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs do and make is that you offer solutions that people do not need. Yeah. So you find that a lot of people have very nice solutions, but they don't succeed simply because the solutions, either people don't need them or they don't need them yet, or they don't need them now. So it's important for you to begin interrogating the situation that you are in and begin to find the solutions that you need. And finally, when we talk about these kind of solutions, I think it is important for us to be very pragmatic and very practical. Going forward, the sectors that I think will be key One will be things like agribusiness, simply because people have to eat. So if you can be able to create a solution or create a business around the food industry, I think that will do well. The other one is digital, a space that I'm in. I think a lot of us have skills that we can be able to begin to monetize. So again, I would urge as we go along and as we look for opportunities, start looking at what you can be able to do online, what you can be able even to do on mobile, and I'm sure with God's guidance, you'll be able to find something. Over and above all, I think it is very important for us to be prayed up and also to build a community of friends and of entrepreneurs and people that can be able to help you prayerfully think and pray about the ideas that you may be having. And I'm sure by the end of it all, we'll be able to come out victorious. I'll end there for now.
Thank you so much, Tony. I hope you can all hear me. Thank you very much. That is very well said. I really particularly like what you've said, that we need to begin to create solutions that people need. So my question as we move on today would be, so what is it that people need right now? You've already stated in agribusiness, there's huge opportunity in waiting, perhaps in protective equipment, I don't know. There could be an opportunity. And those are things we want to begin to discuss and just to open our minds and think of ways forward. What is it that people can do? What I didn't say earlier is that I am running a project in for ITC in Kenya called the She Trades in the Commonwealth Project. And I know a number of women who benefited, who are in fashion, they make clothes, but have made a reasonable amount of wealth, sorry, let me not say wealth, of cash flow. They've maintained their people just because they were able to jump in on time on the masks, just doing personal protective equipment, the masks, just especially the masks. And within the community, they bought from one another. Within the private sector, they've been buying from them. And there's food on the table, and it's just God's wisdom. So thank you, Tony, so much for that very good introduction. If you have any questions, as I said earlier, please feel free to just put on the chat, put questions, begin to interrogate. Let's help each other just open our minds up in the way that God wants us to. So up next, we have my sister, my friend, Nneka Nwobi, who has so much to tell us. She's a coach, a consultant, a leader. And so Nneka, please take it away.
Thank you, Phyllis, and good morning, everyone. It's really nice to be connected, virtually. It's been so long, right? And thank you again to the organizers who put this together. This is part of the aftermath of the COVID, of being innovative. I know I'm mindful of time. I have 3 questions to answer in this first series of questions. Who am I? What I do? What God is showing me? And what is my heart for the season? So again, my name is Nneka Nwobi, and I help growth-minded entrepreneurs grow their businesses to enable them achieve financial and time freedom, as well as impact their communities. I do this through various programs. I host the African Entrepreneurs Forum, which is close to 1,000 African entrepreneurs on the internet and Facebook. So I do have successful entrepreneurs that I interview. We glean from them, and I also do some learning there, as well as various online trainings and coaching programs around business. So it's entrepreneurs, but I see really every individual, you should begin to see yourself as you incorporated. So even if you work for yourself, you are you incorporated, right? And so you must begin to think in that manner. So this is not exclude, you shouldn't think, oh, because I'm not an entrepreneur, I can't glean from that. So what is God saying to me? So this is about what I do. What is God showing me? I'm going to draw that from 3 scriptures. One is that, our mandate has been the same: to be fruitful, to multiply and dominate. Genesis 1:28. God did not say, okay, if the condition is good or if the economy is bad, then you cannot do that. Then also, I also look at the scripture, the blessing to Abraham, where it says, I will bless you. So we are blessed. And in the new covenant that we have in Galatians 3:14, right, that the blessing of Abraham might come to us by faith. So we already have that regardless. So that is what establishes the fact that things are moving around. As children of God, we are blessed and we are supposed to thrive regardless of the condition. So it's now whether or not we take advantage of the situation or we go deep in. And then I also believe that the word again, truth says that he has made unto us wisdom because we have the Spirit of the living God inside of us. So we do know what to do. It's now whether we're going to use our mind, right? Or what, and really do that. The other thing, another promise that I look to again is that even in the word, God says that he has given, when different people, he has given to them lands to conquer, to all of that. But he sees that in the spiritual realm, meaning that he has given it to them already. But they had to fight. They had to be courageous, right? They had to do what they needed to do to be able to conquer. So for us as Christians now, the question is, are we going to thrive or are we not going to? Because the land is ours. And yeah, that's that. Okay, so my other 2 minutes is following up on what Tony said. I just picked up from that in terms of, first of all, even analyzing the situation of what's going on. I do have about 4 or 5 things that I will talk about that I did. But on the 2nd of April, I went through a process called the impact filter. And the project was around how am I going to thrive, excel, and grow in the midst of COVID pandemic. I have it right here. So I look at it, right? And I said, I want to ensure I still thrive, excel, and grow during this pandemic, that I'm looking at April to June 2020 in the first instance. So my question is, have you considered the next 90 days? You can't start planning for the next 1 year. The next 90 days and saying, what can I do? And what I said here was that despite this season, so the importance of me doing this, that despite this season of uncertainty and fears, I will keep shining. I will light the world for others. I will create and add as much value as I can. And my earnings will continue to increase despite this downturn in the global economy. I wrote this 2nd of April. And to the glory of God, my income is actually increasing. So these and more of the details that I have are the things that I will share with you, some of my thoughts and the notes that I've made during this 90 minutes that we have together. Thanks again. It's really a pleasure to be here with my brothers and sisters to just share and glean from each other. Over to you, Phyllis.
Thank you, Nneka. That's amazing to know that we have real people, real examples who are growing and thriving through this season. There must be something we need to learn from you. And I really like what you've said, Nneka, that God told Abraham, I have given you the land. Open your eyes, I've given you the land. So Abraham took it by faith. Okay, then we go to Joshua and the season between Joshua and Moses. There are several scriptures that say, step by step, I will give you the land. So yes, he's given you, but there's a coming into probably a mindset shift for you to actually take that land. And then we see that the moment they cross over they cross over the Jordan River, the first challenge, finally, voila, you are in Canaan. But the first thing they have to face is Jericho, a strategy that I don't even know whether has been repeated by anyone since that time, that the strategy was silence, the strategy was shut up, the strategy was listen to God, the strategy was obey the instruction. It's amazing. So to know that we have strategies that we can share with the people in this season, in this time, on what to do, then is very exciting. Allow me to invite the next speaker, which will be Charles Luo. Charles is a partner at Deloitte. Charles, please take it away.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to have a discussion with you. I think I'm so happy to be on this forum because there's a big underlying perspective or perception that the crisis is sort of bringing everything to a standstill. Now, what I do is advise clients, many clients, various industries, on how they can survive during these times. My name is Charles Luo. and I'm a partner at Deloitte. And one of the key things that you hear from me is how then, what's the first step? What are some of the practical things that you can do during these times to get ahead and still remain relevant? Now, there's a saying that never waste a good crisis. And one of the key things that is there are so many opportunities that have arisen as a result of this crisis. Now, it's a decision that people have to make as an individual, as a business, to remain relevant. Now, to be able to do that, there's a key component to all this. You need to be able to have the ability to survive. And one of the key elements that you find at the center of all this is your ability to manage what you call working capital. And I'll define what that is. And then also your ability to manage cash. Many of the entities or companies or individuals are struggling with that area of the business. Now, so working capital is basically some of the things that enable you to run the business, and that includes the people who you supply goods to, which means your receivables or your debtors, and then also the creditors. So these are the people that you owe money, and even the banks. So it's important that you start managing those in that process. And then there's a bigger part, which is the cash flow. In these times, what will be critical also is how effectively you manage those components will be able to get you through. So obviously there are so many opportunities that have arisen from a digital perspective, how you can deliver better services to your customers. But the underlying framework that you also need to work with is to make sure that you'll be able to just have the cash to be able to run the business. So if you don't have the cash to be able to run the business, all these ideas that we've been talking about, finding new opportunities, finding digital way of delivering will not be successful. So one of the key steps that I'll be sharing with you is how do you just prepare a budget? I mean, just simple things that we need to work with as children of God. You need to be diligent in your finances. So I'll be spending a lot of time as a financial consultant sharing my insights in terms of you need to plan it. You cannot just wait for anything to happen almost like by accident. Someone can't hear me. I'm seeing a number of notes. Can you hear me?
Charles, I can hear you very well,
okay,
loud and
all
clear.
right.
So yes, Maggie, maybe check your settings.
We're hearing you.
All right, thank you. So one of the key things that I'll be talking to is one, how do you prepare the budget? And you see, you need to run them in short sprints where you look at 90 days. In the 90 days, how am I going to survive? And in 6 months, how I'm going to survive? And then obviously over a period of a year. And then in all that, you also need to start thinking about some of the relevant inputs in there. Obviously, when you're preparing a budget, it's got two components. It's got the income, which is obviously it could be your salary, because you also need to break it down, because I think one of my colleagues was mentioning that you have to look at yourself as an entity, as for example, Charles Incorporated. So what are some of the things that you need to be doing with the income that you're looking at? And how can you diversify it? And then you also now go to the second part, which is the costs, which is one of the critical parts that we need to look at. So as we go into the level of detail, that's what I have on my heart to share with you, because most of us struggle with managing cash. And obviously cash will then enable you to be able to be successful in doing all these activities, or being able to respond and being able to recover and thrive in these times. So Phyllis, that's what I have on my heart. And thank you very much, and over back to you.
So thank you so much, Charles. That's very well said. It's good to know we have consultants like you on board who can assist us with just cash planning. Sometimes it's easy to get the cash in, and then we spend it on all the irrelevant things. And then sometimes it's hard to get the cash in, but then we know what to do if the cash comes in. So to help us with that balance is really, really great. And I've heard you say that you will be sharing a little more. So we'll have some few more minutes just in the next section. But in between, I want to encourage all of you. There's a chat forum. I see Neka is posting on it. I know Geoffrey has some questions, I think coming in on the Facebook forum, on Facebook. So if we can begin to just collate those questions, we will have some 10, 15 minutes just dedicated to what are your questions. As hard or as simple as they seem to be, you know, just ask them so that we can navigate through this together, okay? So allow me to invite the next speaker, and which is, you know, the fourth speaker for the day. Today is James. James Mwangi is an engineer and a digital specialist. He runs some online shops, and we all thought that we could benefit for anyone who is doing, you know, product sales. What's the new space? The world's gone digital. What does that look like? What are some of his thoughts? James, please take it away.
Unmute, James. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just saying, I like what Charles has said, never waste a good crisis, and this is a good crisis, so let's not waste it. You know, this is not the first time we're in a crisis. It's not the first time the world is in a crisis. And if you study such crises in the past, some companies go down, but there are always people who come up, and those who come up are those that choose to not waste the good crisis that Charles is talking about. So yes. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. So at this time, people are really thinking about online, and I don't think we have much choice in terms of taking our products online. Already we were getting there. COVID has just accelerated that process, and I think it's time we get onto it. So let me just give you my background. Like Phyllis said, I'm a telecommunication engineer. I've been in the e-commerce space for the last 18 or so years. I think I first sold my first products on eBay and Etsy way back in 2004. That's when I was trying to learn how to sell online. And over the years, I've set up many shops and helped people set up many shops and sell products both here in Kenya and internationally. Online presence is the way to go. I can assure you that, because like Tony said, how do you get your products? How do you sell to your audience, to your customers? How do you sell a product? How do you get a product that will sell? And it's a whole world in terms of determining what to sell. Now, the benefits about online is that you can test your products without necessarily having inventory, without having stock. You don't have to, get products and then start looking for markets. Then you realize they're not selling. You can have one product, take a picture of a product, test your market and see whether your market responds. Those are some of the benefits that you can get with online. And I'll give you more details on how we can get into that. So yes, there are a lot of benefits, and this crisis has just shown us that it's possible to get your products to your customers without necessarily having physical presence, without necessarily being with your customers next to you or near you. The future is that's our future. That's our new reality. COVID has just accelerated that process. So we better start thinking in that line. And it's not hard. I think when people hear of e-commerce, they think of this very complicated way of, this monster. Where do you even start? But apparently, almost everyone is on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can actually do e-commerce. You can sell. You've seen people selling products on Facebook. That is a basic form of e-commerce, and that's where it starts. It's not that complicated. If you're willing to go to it, you can. Well, I don't know whether you have much choice, but it's the way to go. We just need to decide this is the way I want to go and I want to learn this. So yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'll give it back to Phyllis, and I'll give more details regarding the digital presence. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Thank you for that short and sweet introduction. In the next, as James talks, I think I want to hear, and probably you all want to hear more of. So if I'm in trading, I'm in, agribusiness, if I'm in, just selling products, importing perhaps from Uganda, from the region, if I'm in textile, if I'm selling clothes, is it possible for you to tell us which platforms are more relevant for us? Is Facebook relevant for some type of businesses? Is Instagram relevant for other types of businesses? And then on top of that, what if I'm in services? I'm NECA, I'm a consultant. How does the digital space look to me who's in services? What can I do? What can I start at home? Can I start blogging? Can I start a YouTube channel? How easy is that? What do you recommend? Is there a process? So those are some of the opportunities we want to hear from you, James, in the next session as you prepare. Okay, good. So those are the speakers. I want to check with Geoffrey if there are any questions. Any questions from Facebook? Any comments? Any concerns? I see NECA is helping us type out what is being said, which is very good. Thank you, NECA. Okay.
No questions so far.
No questions so far. So we just keep rolling. Okay.
Yes.
Great. So we just keep rolling. So I'm not going to go into any order. I'm going to ask my speakers for the day without any order to begin to address they had just introduced themselves, and some of them have said that they want to share, like Charles, you said you do, NECA, you have some 5 points you want to share with us. So feel free to just jump in, or unless you want to just to go in the same order, Tony, feel free to jump in and just share what it is that you had left for the second session, the rest of the contents that you have with us for us. And particular order. NECA, feel free to jump in.
Okay, so yes, I'll continue with what I'd said. I just want to again just go over the topic, right? So it's, do you remember the shift from analog to digital?
Yes.
And how do we respond, recover, and thrive in an environment of COVID-19? The first is around learning, right? Because one thing, to reduce fear, you need to understand, what do you need? So after you've done your plan in terms of, okay, what is it going to, I'm looking at the time again, so probably have 5 minutes. What is it that you need to do? What is it that you want to do? Like just what I said I just did, right? So it's now like, what does the completed project in this 90 days for you to be able to thrive? You could say from June now till September, in the next 90 days, write it out. It's not just in your head. Then, and I did that. I took time out and wrote that. Then the other thing is, what has to be true when this project, and what's the project for you to thrive, for you to make more money in the next 90 days because of COVID-19? And so this is when you have to say, what has to happen? From it, you may identify, okay, I don't even know how to get onto Facebook. I don't even know how to have a Facebook account. All I know is that I need to have e-commerce for those who is trading. So you've identified them. I had about 8 of them. And through this process, because of the thinking, remember we said that we already have the wisdom of God. We know what to do. I wrote here in my past that I have launched a US business expanding what I do for a client in America, offering virtual CFO services. Now, before COVID, I didn't think of it. But if I hadn't gone through this exercise, right? Remember I said that you're all you incorporated. I would not have done that. So that's that. When you have now identified that this is what I need to do for me, so you're thinking of the end. Again, because we're spirit beings, God has already given it to us, but it's for us to take charge and say, these are the things that I need to do. So the first one is around learning. There are obviously gaps in learning. So what is it that you need to do? Do you need to go and learn Facebook marketing? Do you even need to understand marketing? For me, I'm spending even more time learning really Facebook marketing well, or LinkedIn, or how do you change your product, right, from physical to digital? So you have to identify the gaps and then now say, okay, this is my learning plan. And it's not just thinking in your head, it has to be in your calendar that, okay, 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, I will learn. That's how we all grow, right? So it's by learning and identifying what your learning gaps are. And then as you're doing it step by step, you are growing. The second thing is around collaboration. Things are moving so fast, so quickly that you cannot learn everything. So you cannot be an island now. You have to reach out to people. Reach out for those who are on LinkedIn who are service professionals. I made it a duty that I would connect with 5 people every week since March. And I tell you from that now, I'm in the process of launching like a venture fund, right, to invest in female entrepreneurs with a lady I met in Paris, and she introduced me to a Norwegian. We formed something called the DICA Project. From this, I've met another lady, you know, so I've met people from LinkedIn. I just reach out to them and connect with them. Nothing is stopping you from doing that digitally. Facebook, reach out. Instagram, it's not just about posting happy pictures and all of that, but it's again, is by having that plan. Okay, so I've talked about learning, I've talked about collaboration, because you cannot do it by yourself. You have to reach out. And then the other is test your idea. As you just start, you don't have time now to be thinking, will it work, will it not work? It's okay to fail in quotes. And failure is good because it means that that initial plan did not work. Once you just get it, hit the market through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through Instagram, post something. If people don't engage, then you know, okay, maybe I need to change it quickly. That's also a challenge for me. I'm not waiting for it to be so perfect. I think I will stop here. I have some more, but let me give the others opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Neka. Wow, I really, we are learning. So I just wanted to just mention a few things just to emphasize what it is that you're saying, that learning is critical. And so in learning, I just want to remember and salute the people who have taken up their cars and gone to Thika Highway to sell egg, potatoes, tomatoes, hats off, because they refuse to get depressed in the depression of the moment. You have a shamba, you have a car, your job, maybe they're paying you half, and the lady or the gentleman decides, I'm going to the highway to sell, or super highway to sell. Hats off to them. That's a change of mindset. Also, I must say, yes, there's what you can do now, and then do not lose out on what it is that you're skilled at doing. So there's the survival strategy, and then there's the thriving strategy. I don't know. Can you hear me? Do I have some back sound, Geoffrey? I'm getting some echo of myself.
There's some feedback.
It's me?
Yeah, there's some feedback from your end.
There's some feedback from my end. Okay. All right. Now it has gotten finished, right? Great. Now it's over. Good. So what else? So yeah, hats off to those. So Neka has talked about learning. What am I learning? And you know, I thought it takes 21 days to create a habit, to form a habit. Now we were given 21 days in your home, and then another 21 days that perhaps solidifies the habit, and then another 21 days that now this is you. So in those 21, and then we were given 30 days, which is what we are in right now. What are some of those habits? Are you really learning, like Neka is saying? Are you learning anything apart from listening to COVID news? Because faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Fear comes by hearing something else, hopelessness comes by hearing something else. And I'm not saying you should not watch the news. I'm just saying, as Neka said, have a plan. What is your plan? Give yourself 1 hour daily for self-development, personal development. Are you doing that? Have you formed that habit? Guess what? It's not too late. You can start now. Then I like what she talked about collaboration, which means our network is our net worth. So do you have a network? It might not be online, but if it is online, even better for you. And I think I want James later to speak into, then what are some of the things you can do if you have a network on LinkedIn? What is it you can begin to post to bring out your brand? What is it how can you strengthen your brand online so that anyone I really love CFO services, virtual CFO services to some company in the US. That's dynamic. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Neka, for sharing. And then finally, she talked about test your idea. And there is no better time for us to test our ideas and fail properly than in this season. Because in this season, there's no judgment. Judgment is off. If you're doing something and swimming and perhaps just floating, you're forgivable. We'll still give you business because you're better than the person who never started. So thank you, Neka. Let me have someone else jump in with their next thoughts. And as I keep saying, feel free to post in your questions, real questions. We're looking for real answers in the Lord. Okay. So I'll hand it over to who wants to go up next. Shall we say Charles? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Phyllis. So, I mean, just to expand on what I had said at my introduction stage, I just want to go in a bit more detail in terms of some of the key things that you may perhaps want to start thinking through around cash flow management and working capital management. So one of the key parts that you need to look at is your costs. You need to critically look at your costs and start asking yourselves a couple of questions. What are the opportunities that I can look at to reduce my variable costs? So those costs that can actually fluctuate. There are costs which are fixed, like rentals, which you have. You might now start going to perhaps the landlord and start asking, can you perhaps reduce some of those, some of the rent, given the challenges that you're going through? And then the other element that you want to look at is discretionary spends, the money that you're spending that you don't really need. So one of the things that you might be spending on is entertainment, and even the type of even the type of areas that you spend on around food that perhaps you just need for it won't add any sort of nutritional value, but you just spend like biscuits and so on and so forth. You start looking at some of those discretionary spends. So those you need to start looking at them and start reducing the budgets around that. So what you want to do is, because you remember we've got two components. We've got your cost, which is the biggest part, which you tend to have more control over. And then we've got revenues, and I'll come to how you can manage your income. So once you start looking at those discretionary spend, you start reducing them, that will give you into the next sort of stage. Then you've got those costs that will help you grow. So the costs that will help you grow, those are the ones that you need to start focusing on and directing. So once you reduce your budgets from money that you don't really need or they will not add much value, you start looking at now spending on areas where you can actually grow your business. So an example in our firm is where I work. What we've been doing is we've been now redirecting some of the costs that we've been spending in certain areas, and now starting developing services that actually responsive to COVID, because that's where there's an opportunity in terms of going forward. So you need to start looking at that way in terms of your budgeting. Now, when you're doing that, especially when you're looking at your cost side of things, you need to look at your costs in the next 3 months, the next 90 days. How am I going to survive? How much is my expenditure going to be in the next 3 months? So once you've established what your cost structure will be in the next 3 months, then you can now go, okay, I've done my 3 months. What about in the next 9 months? What should be my outlook? So once you've established that and you've really cut down what is within your control, there's a critical component that you also need to think through, which is obviously the starting point. It's your revenue streams. Now, typically what we're looking at now is everyone has got your traditional customers. You need to make sure that your customers, your existing customers, are well serviced. Yes, whilst there are other opportunities that are actually coming on board, but you need to make sure that what you have on your plate, you're actually being able to service them, and you're actually being empathetic with them, understanding their needs, because those are the ones that will give you sort of assured revenues. Then the next component you need to also look out for is the new revenue streams. You cannot be sitting and just waiting and waiting for just the existing customers to be sufficient because of the challenges that you might face. One of the other key things that's arising is around education. If you think about it, we've been sitting down doing homeschooling, but there is an opportunity there for homeschooling to actually go even more international than your local market. So, but the key thing is to finding the right balance of having a product that can actually be very effective going forward. And one of my colleagues at the office gave a very interesting analogy where he said, COVID-19 has given us sort of an opportunity to almost have like it's a time machine into the future. So the future is digital, and to be able to remain competitive, you need to broaden your revenue streams. And one of the ways you can broaden your revenue streams, as you've heard from James and Neka, is obviously a digital perspective. So you need to be able now to start saying, how can I make sure that this product that I have goes just beyond my traditional market? My traditional market is perhaps just locally here in Kenya, but you wanted to make sure it's even going beyond the local market. So you explore those opportunities. The example I've given is education. You can even start finding how you can have some online classes, online tutoring, and you can expand that quite quickly, as long as you have the right product which is relevant and which is making sure that at least the students are learning from there and being able to track. So once you've developed that level of budget, which is giving you your income stream and your expenditure, you're going to have now whether you're going to have a surplus or a deficit. Now, then there lies in the question: if you have if you have your big sort of, if you find yourself in a deficit position, the question is, what can you do? There are sort of various options. You can now ask your financing institution to give you funding. But what you don't want to do is to go to the obviously the unconventional sort of lending where they give you excessive interest. If you've got a good business idea, you've said, I've done my cash flow planning for the next 3 months, for the next 9 months, and these are my deficits or these are my surplus. Would you be able to fund the position? And some institutions are now opening up and being able to provide that assistance. So once you've got that detailed plan supplemented with a very nice detailed business plan, you'll be able to get the inflows. But what is critical in there is you need to be looking at some of the areas that you can run with. Now, just to close out, if you look at your cost structure, and I have seen a comment come through. If you're looking at your cost structure, you want to make sure that there are two types of costs. There are costs that are fixed, which you can't do anything about, and then there are those costs which are variable, which you've got so much control over. So, for example, one fixed cost that we have is rent, which I mentioned. You can go back and ask for renegotiation. Those are difficult to actually manage. But then you've got variable costs, which you've got so much control over. You want to make sure that on those variable costs, which you've got control over and they change, you actually making sure that you start only having those which are really relevant at the time of need, as opposed to just spending. And one of the last comment is, if you've got a formal environment like your employees, your employee costs, one of the key areas is you can now start looking at elements of making sure they perhaps take some time off in terms of leave days to reduce that expenditure. And then obviously the other key element is using some digital enablement to be able to scale down some of the operations. If you've got office costs, you might not need to have that anymore. You can operate from your own base. So there's a lot of enabling environment from a digital perspective, which can help you actually grow bigger. And that's obviously expand your ecosystem in which you work. So by and large, that's some of the key consideration that you need to consider. Sorry, that's one last point I just want to make mention. You also need to think beyond your you need to think beyond the four walls. So beyond your four walls, like basically your structure or your existing clients. You need to start thinking about ecosystems, and I think my colleagues have talked about it. So the ecosystem is, if you are going to get certain types of goods as an individual, you might find yourself paying more. But if you are ecosystem of SMEs, you go and ask, you want to buy certain amounts of goods from certain suppliers, you might get better discounts. That's another way to reduce your costs. You work as a group as opposed to working as an individual. So leverage of your ecosystem. You can come up with a group and then you go together to ask for additional sort of financing, and as it were, it will be much easier from a supplier perspective. Even when you want to go to a bank, if you're going through as a team, it's much easier in terms of getting funding. So that's it from me, and hoping to hear more questions or on this topic. Thank you. Over to you, Phyllis.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Charles. I really like when you've talked about identifying your deficit. So once you identify your deficit, you talked about the institutions that in this season are able to fund the deficit. Then I also see Gilbert, there's a question from Gilbert, maybe I'll just pose it right now, which is, I'll read it out. What sources of funding besides the conventional lending would you propose to meet these deficits? So would you maybe take a few minutes and speak into that? Or if we need to perhaps side by you, give us some maybe general insights, a little more insight, and then we can consult with you personally if we need to after this.
Yes, thank you very much. So what's interesting is, and there's what has come up, especially from a Kenyan perspective. I've been working with a number of organizations who are actually willing to fund, other than obviously there's a banking environment, but who are willing to fund SMEs in Kenya outside the normal banking ecosystem. So a number of them. So example is FSD, they've set up a significant fund, and even MasterCard, they've set up significant funding which is available. So if you've got a very good viable plan, what they'll do is you present your plan, they engage experts like ourselves to assess whether your plan that you've set up is actually making sense from a business perspective, and whether you can actually be able to sustain those. And then we sort of monitor some of the activities that you're doing. And what if your business idea is very, very good, you can actually end up getting a grant as opposed to actually getting a loan facility, which you need to repay back. So it depends on some of the needs that you're supplying. So for example, what Fides mentioned, if you are maybe doing medical equipment or supplying masks and so on, because that's a dire need and there's limited access, you find that depending on the level of how your business plan has been structured, you might actually get funding to that effect. So beyond the traditional banking institution, there is that level of funding which is available. And also, we are also seeing more of, there are some groups that are coming together to create sort of a fund which is available, again, similar to what I've mentioned, but this is on a loan basis, where you come put your resources together, you create ecosystems of various business-minded people, you put funds together so that you can now respond to some of those deficits that you're facing, and you have almost like a revolving fund, provided that everyone is being able to commit to making sure that they fulfill their part of the need. But it's quite, there's so many opportunities, even from a funding needs, which we are seeing in the market. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Charles. All right, so just to really, we're really listening in. Maybe you talked about cost reduction. Maybe I just want to give some more practical examples on what cost reduction might look like. And of course, some of it has come naturally because you really can't buy that handbag, that shoe, especially the ladies. For the gentlemen, I know this is a church forum, but if this message goes out, COVID has already helped you with the alcohol. Perhaps 50%, that's a cost reduction. If you're out there and there's alcohol, already you can tell the signs that this season is not it's for being sober, you know. Then another thing that also I'm working on is the food we must eat, kitchen garden. So yes, of course, the handbags and those other visiting, dinner, eating out, may have gone or reduced. That's a cost reduction. Then for food, what we are planning to do and what we are hearing around is build your own little vegetable garden. And it doesn't matter that you live in an apartment. If you have a balcony, if you have some little space in the kitchen, those expensive spices that you buy, the danias, parsley, the tarragon, if you buy them always in a bunch, the rosemary, those are like the easiest things to grow, and you will have them fresh and you will have them in your garden. Just pick in your little kitchen garden. If you have a larger garden, then that's a way to go. There are so many videos online just teaching you how to grow onions from the onions that you've been using from the leftover of the onion that you've been using in the kitchen, how to grow capsicum, how to grow so many things we could do. If you have a larger space, that is definitely something to look into that can begin to reduce your cost. You may not plant everything. You're not trying to be a farmer. You're just trying to respond with cost reduction to the season. Okay. Another strategy for that I have seen work is there are some markets that are a bit more expensive and others are quite cheap. I'll tell you some of the cheap markets that I've found out there in Kenya. Kiambu market, potatoes, tomatoes at a relatively cheap option. Now, that might be a business opportunity for somebody. Maybe Charles, who doesn't know Kiambu, where Kiambu Garden, the other one is Githurai market, you know, very, very reasonably priced greens, you know, everything, fruits and vegetables. So it might be a business opportunity for somebody who's listening to supply from those markets to this other side of Nairobi and still sell cheaper than toy market and city market. Okay, so that's what Charles is talking about. Like, if you really begin to interrogate ways you can reduce your costs, there are many. Then when it comes to increasing income, Charles did talk about education, and I want to just speak into that a little bit. If you're a teacher with a teaching skill, and I'm just picking on a random tribe, and you are a Kalenjin, the government has already said children are not going back to school until September. That is a fact, okay? So those children in Kalenjin land, what is it that can be done? And without, perhaps you first need to segment and decide who the target customer would be. There are so many people in Kalenjin land who have access to internet. There are so many, could they come together and could you begin a program part-time? You know, that by the time the government schools are coming back, they'll say, we want that one every Saturday, but we are still going to continue with the school system because the children got so much value. And then as you're thinking about education, make sure it is scalable. Scalable to either, you can decide whether it's to the Kalenjin community only or to the Kalenjin in diaspora, you know. Maybe it could be language. It could be a language forum where you're teaching these young children in diaspora how to speak Kalenjin. So, I mean, that just tickled in my thoughts when Charles talked about education. Big opportunity. If we begin to go into every sector, there are so many things that can be done. But the important thing is, as Neka said, sit down, identify your craft. Decide, is it education? Is it textile? Is it IT? What is it? And then go full on. There are many opportunities that are opening up with in this season with every industry. And yeah, I think that's it. I'll hand it over maybe to the next person. I know we have a few more minutes to go, so please feel free to post in those questions. We'll pick them up because we have a few minutes to answer them. I'll ask who hasn't spoken. Is it Tony? Tony, please go ahead.
All right. I'd like to speak to three things. The first thing is resourcing or preparedness, and then collaboration, and then sustainability. Now, on resourcing, I think it's important to note that a lot of times entrepreneurs lose money in business because they get into businesses that they do not understand. And I am testimony to this. Many of the times that I've lost money is because I got into businesses that I never understood. So before you get into any form of business, make sure that you understand it, or at least you understand it well enough. And for you to understand it well enough, one of the things that you need to do is to Google. Google is your friend. When it comes to business, Google is your friend. And you'll be shocked at the amount of information and resources that are available online for you to learn from. Of course, at this point, I'd like to encourage you to visit businessKenya.com. You'll find very interesting ideas on business and entrepreneurship. Then the other thing is, once you've done your research and you've Googled and you've gathered enough information, try and reach out to people who are in the line of business that you want to get into and understand now the real workings of that particular business and what it is that they go through and how they can be able to improve it. But I cannot overemphasize the issue of preparing yourself and resourcing yourself when you're getting into business, or even when you're getting into a new venture if you're already in business. The second thing is on collaboration, which Neka has mentioned about. But I think on collaboration, one of the key points I wanted to bring out is that entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Yes, it is a good thing. It is probably one of the best things, but I really want to emphasize that it is not for everyone. So the thing is, if you are not cut out for business, or if you don't feel like it is your thing, then reach out to people and within your skill set or within your capabilities, see how you can be able to either work with an entrepreneur or even just go in and support an entrepreneur to be able to run a business and to be able to do whatever it is that they're doing. Because sometimes it is just where we are at or who we are, and we are not able to be able to run the business ourselves. So, but you can collaborate with people. But while you're doing that, also make sure that you are able to match your skill set or your personality with the kind of people that the other people that you're working with. A lot of times, again, there are serious issues around business because of the having the wrong partners or collaborating with people that probably there could be conflict. So again, look at what you are good at, and the other people the person that you'll be working with, look at how you are able to connect, how you're able to work together and think. The third thing is on the issue of sustainability. Again, for me, the most important thing or the first goal in business is to survive. Because if your business is not able to survive, then all is lost. But as long as your business is running, as long as you are in the game, then there is always hope that you can be able to grow and you can be able to achieve the many things that you want to do. So the first thing when it comes to the issue of sustainability is, and sorry, I'm really trying to focus on new businesses, because I believe there are people who are on the value of decision at this point in terms of going to business or not. So if you're going into business, one of the very important things that you need to do is to look for the lowest entry point. If you need $1 million shillings to start a business, you already have a challenge. So if you can find a business that you can start from your home and be able to run it from your home, then you are better off than someone who already needs $1 million shillings. If you need an office in town to be able to run a business, you probably have more challenges than someone who is working from home. The second thing is, I think Charles has spoken about this, managing your cash flows. And at this particular time, I think it is very important to note that cash flow is king. If you have some liquidity, try and hold on to it as much as you can. Try and spend the least that you can possibly do as we go through the COVID situation. And then finally, it's just the mental strength and mental preparation, and the understanding that business is for the long haul. I mean, a lot of times, and on paper, I know every business makes money, makes sense, but on the ground, like we say in Kenya, for ground vitu ni different. So again, when it comes to business, let's be in it with the understanding that it might not work out as soon as we wish it to work, or as quickly as we want it to work out. But let's be prepared. If it works out quickly, then well and good. But if it doesn't, let us also be prepared that we are willing to run the full course. That's it.
Thank you, Tony. Very well said. And just we're really listening in. Just to speak into what you've mentioned, you did talk about resourcing. Businesses get into businesses that you know and understand, and use Dr. Google, I call him Dr. Google, to really research well enough before you start. And maybe a case in point for especially the ones who are Kenyan and have lived in Kenya long enough. There've been two moves that taught me a lesson. The first one was the quail movement. And in some parts of my circles, we say quero, everyone was doing quails, but then it came and it went. That doesn't mean there are no people doing quail business today. There are some people living and thriving, earning a living with quail. They are still there, which meant what Tony is saying, to Tony's point, that some just thought it was a good idea. There's money to be made. There's money to be made. Actually, there's money to be made everywhere. It just depends on what it is that you you're very good at. Then there was the mushroom movement, where mushrooms were just growing everywhere in people's bedrooms. They need darkness. Children were moved out of their bedrooms, and mushroom everywhere. Eventually, it all just faded away. Does that mean there are not people doing mushroom? There are people who are still doing that mushroom business and making a good return. So to Tony's point, that please make sure you research and really listen to yourself, have a meeting with yourself and understand, and of course with the Lord helping, understand what is your craft, what is your skill, and really take up that lane. First Jerusalem, then Judea, then it will go to the uttermost parts of the earth. When you talked about collabos, there's something I want to introduce. Maybe you could research on it by yourself because of time, and I want really to hear from James. Is something called, yes, I agree with you that not everyone is entrepreneurial, an entrepreneur in terms of go out to start a business, but we have what we call intrapreneurs, which means you can actually, like Jacob Israel, okay, started off with intrapreneurship. He had an entrepreneurial spirit, but intrapreneurship means you are working for someone, you're working for an organization, but every time they look at your department, they can tell, this one is different. The kind of results this guy is able to unleash with literally zero resources is amazing. That's a spirit of entrepreneurship, but you're doing it in someone's organization. You are being faithful with a little. Eventually, perhaps, maybe even with retirement, you're able to become an advisor, get advisory board positions, become, UN Secretary General, advising SMEs. As in, there's so many opportunities. So I agree with you totally, Tony, on that. So I could say a lot, but because of time, I would really want to hear from James. There's a question on digital. Maybe you can answer it together as you address. Somebody from the Calvary Worship on Facebook is asking, please comment on how to sell insurance services on this digital platform, as opposed to physical products. As you know, insurance services are sold rather than sold, especially here in Kenya. So we would want maybe that to be addressed also as you go into your last talk, James.
Thank you. Let me start by giving a practical example. You know what this item is. It's a tape measure. I bought this tape measure. Well, I've always bought this tape measure, this type of tape measure, for about 1,000 shillings to 1,500, 1,000 to 1,500 shillings. A couple of months back, I went the other side of town and I saw this product and it was selling for 200 shillings. And I quickly bought it, 200 shillings. I went down the same streets and I saw the same product in many other shops selling for 100 shillings. Something that I've always spent 1,000 to 1,500 shillings to buy. So what does that tell you? There are many people willing to pay 1,000 shillings for this product, but the same product is available for 100 shillings in the same city. So can you get this product from that side and sell to people who are willing to pay you 100 shillings? Yes, you can. Very easy. So how do you get your customers, or how do you get customers who can buy this product using the digital platform? I'll give you an example. If you go to some of the social platforms, and I'll start with Facebook, you can be able to tell, Facebook has a way of knowing audiences in various places. Like in Nairobi, I can tell how many people would be interested in this item. Chances are high that there are people interested in DIY, fixing your own things. Most men will have to have these things in their car. Actually, every home would need to have this thing. I just need to convince them that they need this thing in their homes. So in Facebook can give you a lot of data in terms of who can afford this thing. Not afford, who would be interested in this thing. And I'll give you an example of a phone. If you go to Facebook audiences, and this is where Neka is talking about learning, I can tell how many people in Nairobi use iPhones. How many people in Nairobi use iPhones? If I have an iPhone product, that would be a target market. If I have a new iPhone product, I can easily sell it to the people in Nairobi because Facebook has the data. I'll know how many men, how many women, what are their age ranges, what is their interest, how do they shop, have they ever bought anything online. So I can choose who I want to market that product based on what I have. That's just it. So let me explain the difference between the various social media, the various platforms that we sell products to. Let me start with Google. Google is common, is the most used platform, but most of the time when you're selling to your customers on Google, or selling products on Google, you'll find people who are looking for that product. I'm selling a tape measure. Somebody needs a tape measure. He will go to Google and search tape measure. So I have to find a way of positioning myself among the top 3 or top 5 on Google so that I have a chance of selling this product. So remember, this is someone who already knows what he wants, he or she wants, and has come to Google to look for it, that product. Now, there are many ways. There are many ways to appear at the top. There's paid, and there's what is called just doing a search engine optimization so that you can appear at the top. That is Google. On the other hand, Facebook, and this is where the difference between Facebook and Google is. Facebook, you'll find guys who, they're not interested in your product. They're just going through their normal feed, seeing stuff, and then you position this product somewhere in between. So how you position your product, it's called a scroll stopper. People are scrolling down, you have to make this person to stop scrolling to look at your product. So you have to present it in a way that they will see it. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of those ads coming. It just appears, and then I click on it, a customer will click on it, and I will convince them that this tool, you need it in your house. So you find most of the buyers on Facebook are actually people who buy things that we're not looking for, but you've shown them and they've bought it. They've bought it because you've convinced them they like it. They aren't coming to Facebook to search for this product. That's the difference between Facebook and Google in a small way. Facebook and Instagram are kind of the same. LinkedIn is a place where I will position myself as an expert. I'll brand myself so that when you get to that platform, you'll see this is the guy who knows about tape measures. He knows, he's an expert in tape measures because there's not much buying that happens on LinkedIn, but there's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of positioning yourself as an expert in any field. Yeah, so those are the 3. Then we have many marketplaces. Locally, we know marketplaces like Jumia. Internationally, we have eBay, Amazon, Etsy's. Those are places where you sell your product, but the marketplaces market your products. Let me get back to services. I've explained about product. Now, let me talk about services. And let me use an example of someone who's asking about insurance. How do I? Number one, if I'm the buyer, don't sell me insurance, because already I've had so much talk about insurance. I don't want someone else to come sell insurance to me, but tell me what will happen to me if I don't have insurance. That's a pain point for me. If you can paint a picture to me that if you don't have insurance, this is what will happen to me, then I'll probably listen to you. How do I do this online? And think of your customers when they're looking for insurance. Okay, already people are looking for insurance. How do they get you? Number one, they'll go to Google, they'll search and all that. But how do you position your insurance product? It's a service online. Is Facebook a better place? Is Google a better place? Is Instagram a better place? Yeah, it's a service. Now, Google is very good for services because when you're selling a service, look at it as a long-term product. So you have to position yourself in terms of optimizing your page so that people looking for your insurance service can see you at the top. You're selling on Facebook, it will be a totally different dynamic. You have to paint the picture to me because Facebook is very visual. People buy what they see. So if you type on Facebook, I'm selling insurance, come and buy insurance, chances are high that nobody will come to you. But you paint that picture and if you can do it in a video form, and we're at a time where doing videos is very easy. If you have a phone, you can do a simple video. You just need good lighting, a video, a few editing skills, again, learning, not so much. There are a lot of tools that you can do that and post it out there. Paint a picture to me. What are the risks if I don't have insurance? If you can paint that picture to me, chances are high that I'll listen, I'll click, and I'll come to your page, and I'll probably listen to you because you already paint yourself as an expert, and then I'll be able to consider your service. I hope that answers the services bit, and that would apply to any other service, So you just need to know your customers, what are they looking for? And if they're not looking for you, how can you sell them what you have? Yeah, and like I said before, it's very easy to test products. I can go buy this product and just test it. Just one of these items, take a picture. I know the supply is not far. I test it on the market. I see how many people would be interested in this. How many people would be interested? And if I find there's enough numbers, I can easily sell. And by the way, you don't have to have 1,000,001 products. You can position yourself as the tape measure guy. And whenever someone thinks of buying a tape measure, they come to you. You just need to position yourself with this one product. So that's a basic way of just how to get onto, and I'm explaining in a way that anyone can start getting it, so that it's not, you don't have to see it as a very complicated thing. If you want to start with this tape measure, you can start with it, yeah. So that's yes, that's a basic way of how you can get into e-commerce, and I'd be happy to engage anyone just to give them other practical examples of how you can really get into this space. I don't know whether I've answered what Phyllis you're asking. Yeah. So unless there's a question, I'll be happy to take questions, and then I can elaborate more on that. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, excellent. I think that's very, very practical, very well said, very clear. I like the way you've used the tape measure. So if it's a hair wig, there you go. But tape measure sounds like it can sell hot off the bat. Okay, so thank you very much, James, for that. Next time, if maybe, what I learned in digital space, like you said, is their characteristics. Once you understand who your customer is, which is the most critical part of business, then you have to ask yourself, where is this customer? And then how do you position yourself? That was a very good example of James has given of a physical product. And then he's also answered service, which is insurance. And by the way, just to speak into that question on insurance, I remember once having to train an insurance company, and they were asking about the future of insurance. And if you just go Google the future of insurance, this is where it's headed. With Internet of Things, with IoT, with everyone wearing smartwatch, which is telling you how many heartbeats per minute that you are experiencing every single day, when you exercise, when your car, when the engine is low and it's about to the oil is low, it tells you. When your tires are about to go flat, it tells you. This is where the world of digital is taking us. There's Internet of Things. And we are seeing that insurance companies will really, really have to rethink their strategies, because in the future, and I think it started happening the other day, in the future, and I don't think it's very far. So probably there's one lady in Kenya who's already doing this in insurance, that you are going, like the way the stock market works, you go and choose your insurance for the day. So they are buying daily insurance, the way you buy daily bundles. So there's X insurance company, Y insurance company, Z insurance. For health, we are giving this based on the global statistics that people in Nairobi within this region are healthier because they're exercising at Jaffrey's or something. So it's a very interesting thing to begin to study what the future of insurance looks like. A lot is changing. And as Charles said, this is like the time machine. We were just thrown into having to digitize. So please, if you're in insurance, look at it critically. There's a lot that is changing. Those heartbeats per minute can be integrated with your doctor, and your doctor is integrated with the insurance company, and then the insurance company is saying, no, for this guy is not exercising. This guy, we're going to give him a low, So that's how it's beginning to work. It's so real time. It's no longer a piece of paper you sign and it's signed for 18 years or 5 years or 1 year. That is beginning to change, and it's becoming a daily monitoring thing. So in between daily monitoring and where it is now, there's a huge opportunity for you in the insurance industry. So I was saying maybe later on, and I know we are out of time now, but maybe I'll ask my panelists to give just a parting shot, a few words of wisdom based on what they've talked about. And I hope you really felt your mind tickling, being tickled into thinking, then what are the real practical things I can do? Whether you're in services or whether you're in trying to sell a product or already selling a product. And if you're in a business that you want to continue through this season, then you have gotten some real practical tips on what to do. And just to finish off my thought on what James was talking about, LinkedIn, there's certain kind of people. LinkedIn talks about expertise. It's really about expertise. Facebook is really about, there's a lot of social, social going on. So if you're selling social brands, social product, then that's the place to do it. And Instagram, and I'm talking about like the 70%, everyone is everywhere. But once you know your customer, then to really target them, you'll be, maybe we should go through a session on just digital. What platform gives you what people, which people, and where are your customers? Not everyone should be on every platform. There's some brands that should not even be on, they should have their own website and drive people to their own website using perhaps LinkedIn or using perhaps Instagram. And Instagram, I've seen that salons do very well on Instagram, furniture companies do very well on Instagram, clothing, fashion, style, they do very well on Instagram. And I mean, it's a whole world out there of handles that you can hold. Who does Twitter speak to? What brand can you create for yourself on Twitter, just Twitter alone, and then how do you integrate? Which are the top 3 most important digital spaces for you to play in, depending on your brand and your customers? Okay, where are your customers? Who is your target customer, and what brand are you trying to maintain? Those should be able to dictate to you then which are the top 3 spaces you should be playing in. And if you're not there, then you really are not in business. All right, so let me go round as we started in the beginning. Tony, please start us off with your final thoughts as we prepare to close.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
we can hear you, Tony. We can hear you.
No, my final thoughts are, as we going into this thing, a minute. Sorry about that. Oh, but my final thoughts are, as we go through this phase, let's avoid the hard mentality. Yes, it's good to sell masks and PPEs and everything, but if we are going to get into it, let's get into it with let it be an informed decision. Because I think, again, like we said, business is about making money, but business is about, people tend to lose money in business. So again, let's be careful and not just follow waves like Phyllis was saying, that this thing is happening and then we jump into it without any information or knowledge. That's it from me.
Thank you very much, Tony. Neka, your last thoughts?
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, guys, this thing is not hard, right? When you say analog to digital, it's really around the progression from people who don't know about your products or services, right, which you call cold leads, they're out there, to prospects who are people who are kind of like interested, to people who are now customers. So it's the migration. So from analog being where you would put your things in a shop and people are walking by, or you have an office and people call them. In that case, that's about 100 people or 200 people. In this case now, in the digital space, you have literally billions of people that you could potentially sell to. So it's now, how do I get my service or product service to these billion people? You then have to identify who are those people that I like. So first of all, it's around what are the problems that are available that I see? What are the solutions that I think I can offer? How do I get that to them? 2 ways you can do that. 1 is learn every day, at least 1 hour a day. Move it to 2, right? Learn. If you do that, you become an expert. Then the second is then get in front of those your target audience. It could just mean your phone, right? You do a video, you say something, and then it goes out there. Then you use small money, it could be 100 shillings a day or even 50 shillings, and publicize it to the target audience. And when I say sell, it's not selling every day. Think of it maybe an 80-20, right? 80% being the value you are adding to people. We gave the insurance example where it's like, where James said about, you know, if I don't use insurance, what is going to be the challenge? So you are telling them about the value of getting insurance. Then 20% of your, of 5 days or 7 days, then you sell that this is what I have. So you can do 80, 20, 60, 40. Put on your video, just talk, right? So I challenge you, I'm actually taking up a challenge to go 30 days every day in Facebook or, you know, and just share value. And then with your details of how they can reach you, you have a big business for this. So I wish you all the best. I know this is a very short time. I've seen requests asking for us to have another session. I believe that's needed, where we can go now into tactical steps of what we could do to really enable us to thrive. I believe this is an incredible opportunity. It's a reset for everybody. And it's those who are prepared that will seize the opportunity and ride with the storm. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this inaugural or first business talk. Thanks. Over to you, Phyllis.
Thank you, Neka. Thank you for that. I really like that. All right. So yes, we definitely, I saw the question also. It's possible. Can you please ask all the speakers if they're willing to give us another sessions where they share with us in depth on each point they share? It's very much possible. It's a digital world. We're not even having to leave our sitting room to do this. So yes, it's possible, and we'll look into that. So let me give it up to, I see Pastor Ron, you've joined, welcome. And I'm going to ask you to give some closing thoughts after this, so please prepare. So Charles Lou?
No, thank you very much, Phyllis. I think for me, my closing remarks are twofold. The first one is there are key lessons that we've learned through this, and you don't want to waste those key lessons. So once the crisis is over, you do not want to go back to your old habits. And especially one of the key things I've mentioned was working capital and cash flow management. If you are able to survive on just the relevant items, you should be able to survive even when things get back to normal. I think that's a key lesson that I would want to share. And then the second part is being relevant. And I think my colleagues, Nick has talked about it, James has talked about it, making sure that whatever services that you're providing are relevant. They are basically solving the needs of today. And earlier on, I had said that COVID-19 has provided us like a time machine into the future. This is where we're going to be in terms of digital needs. So we need to optimize the opportunities that are available to be able to assist our clients, our stakeholders, our various entrepreneurs who work with us to be able to being efficient and being able to remain relevant, as it were. It's been a very good session, and I can confirm that yes, as one of the speakers, I'm willing to have another session. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Oh, thank you so much, Charles. And finally, last but not least, we can hear from James, and then Pastor Ron will ask you to say something.
Thank you. Let me start by answering someone who is asking about the numbers, the audience on the digital space. Like I said, a lot of these social platforms have tools to give you the numbers. For example, I gave an example of an iPhone. I can get onto Facebook, and Facebook will tell me how many people in Nairobi have iPhones or use iPhones on their social media. I can tell how many of those are men, how many are women, what are their age groups, how many are there between 20 and 25 years or 20 and 30 years. I can get the numbers from Facebook. So if I'm targeting a certain age group for a certain product, I already have the audience. So all I need is to convince them that I have this product, I can get it to you. So it's that easy. But like Neka has said, you just need to learn. It's learning. Digital space changes every day. So you have to, number one, take interest, learn, and practice. It's very easy to practice. I gave you an example of this. You don't even have to invest millions of shillings to sell this product. You just know it's on the other side, it's going for 100 shillings. I know there's a market on this side that can buy it for 1,000 shillings. Can I practice with this? Take a picture, practice, sell it out, see how many people are interested in it. And the social media platforms, like I said, have all the information that to guide you on who would buy this product. So it's not easy, like I said. It sounds complicated to many people, but it's not that complicated. And I too, I'm willing to help whoever is willing to, whoever needs to be guided in this. And I'll be ready also to join in the next meeting, the next forum. I think it's very important. Yeah, I've also learned from this forum, from my other participant, and thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, James. Thank you for also being so willing to help out, especially to start off in the digital space. That's critical. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Pastor Ron to say something and bless us all as we begin to wind down. Perhaps in the next 5 minutes we'll close.
Amen.
Pastor Ron?
Amen. Thank you so much, Phyllis, and greetings to everybody. First of all, let me just apologize for being so late. I had started recording my message early today, and then I got sidetracked and had to start over again, and I went over into your time. I'm sorry for that. I wanted to hear everything, but hopefully it'll be provided I can listen again. But just so excited for this opportunity. I need to learn from this. I need to grow from these areas. These are areas that I know in my life I'm weak in, and even though I don't sell products, I do represent the greatest product of all, and thank God I have young people helping me, but even learning how to better facilitate what we're doing and how we're doing it, it's just so key. And I'm glad I just flipped through here and seen some of you who are on this, and I'm so happy that you've joined it. And next time we'll get the word out better and more people will join. This is new for us, so for a first time, I feel pretty good about all the people and the participants there. Thank you for our contributors that have shared today. And as I go through it and I learn some things, I might be sending you messages to help me out in some of my endeavors as well. But I just want to say God bless you to all of you. We're excited about what God is doing, excited about where we're going as a church. And we're convinced that as a church, even though we want to get back to analog meeting, we want to get back to that face-to-face where two or more are gathered in his name, we know that in the future, we cannot leave this behind. Just last week, I haven't looked at everything, and James, you're going to have to help me to figure out through Jeffrey and all that, how we can diagnose how many people in Nairobi are watching through this platform or that platform. I didn't know we could even do that. But we're seeing thousands of people just come on our feeds, and we don't even promote it that much. And we're not selling anything. We're actually giving things away. And we're giving away the love of Jesus and the precious hope of following the Lord. Even today, as I was finishing my message, I'm in the 23rd Psalm and talking about today, tomorrow's sermon will be talking about that he leads us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. But then that next phrase that says, and even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have to fear evil. And one of the things that hit me, and I just shared it, that a valley is never supposed to be a destination in our life. This whole COVID-19, it's not a destination that we've arrived at and we're going to stay. A valley is always a transitional point. It's a transition that gets us from the place we were to a new place that God is leading us to. And I'll break that down to more tomorrow. But even as you're walking through life, where you are right now, the things you are learning in this COVID-19 time, the things we are learning as we're coming online with teachings like this is going to prepare you. The valley, one of the things I mentioned, the valley is a place where we prepare and we grow. And when we come out of it, we come out of it better than we went into it. And we'll all do that. And this is one of the ways we're going to do that. So thank you. God bless you. God just continue to use you for your glory. And I bless you all in the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Phyllis. Did you want me to close in prayer, or do you have something else before that?
Yes, absolutely. Please close in prayer, and then I'll release us with just some thoughts. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Just a quick prayer. Father, thank you so much for these professional brothers and sisters, God, that are willing to take the things they've learned in their professional lives and give them back to those of us who haven't had those opportunities, or maybe probably not taking advantage of the opportunities we have, but they're giving us those things and helping us as we walk through these times to grow and mature. And I pray you're on our presenters today. I just pray a special blessing on them for all they've poured out into us today, that God, that they will just feel that. I know many of them that this is their livelihood, and when they do this, usually they do this as a part of their business. And today they're giving themselves to the church. And I want to pray a blessing back on them that's greater than any financial reward they would ever get, God. And even their business will be impacted by what they've done and how they're sowing into the kingdom. And then on those who are listening today as students, and I pray, God, that everyone has gleaned some truth today, and that it will be a part of changing their lives for the future, oh God. And I thank you for that. And I just, God, most of all, we just pray that you would be in the midst of it all, that you are the shepherd who leads us in right paths and righteous paths. And even through listening to this today, I pray that some people are finding a righteous path for their life that's going to lead them to greener pastures. We thank you for that. And we bless everyone in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Amen. God bless you all.
Amen and amen. Thank you so much, Pastor Ron. And in closing, a good God bless you. I see somebody on the feed saying they need a digital marketing consultant. I suggest that you take a screenshot of that number because it'll not be available after we close down. So he's looking for a digital marketing consultant, he or she, all right? So thank you very much all. Thank you for engaging us. We did run over a bit on time, but I think the thoughts were interesting. Please give us feedback on our Facebook. Give us feedback. Send any feedback on Geoffrey. For now, we know that you want more of this, so we can perhaps begin to structure more in a better way with a different audience, with more audience perhaps. So thank you very much. A good God bless you. May you continue to be blessed in your ways. Sons of Issachar, please arise. I hope you have better understanding of the times and that we know what to do. May God continue to guide you and bless you. Thank you, Pastor Ron, for joining in. Even if a bit late, it's really a pleasure. And we know you are working on the church message, which we'll listen in tomorrow. Thank you very much. God bless you, everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.